Studies show that the after-school hours are the peak time for juvenile crime and experimentation with drugs, alcohol, and sex. In fact, the hours between 3 and 6 p.m. on school days have been referred to by law enforcement officials as a danger zone. As some believe, children with nowhere to go end up going nowhere. That's why I'm a firm believer in the value of after-school programs, because I think that these 3 hours can change a life. Hi, I'm Vincent C. Mayor of the District of Columbia. Joining me for a conversation about the value of after-school programs in the district and where to find them are John Stokes, Chief of Staff at the Department of Parks and Recreation, and Alonzo Holloway, roving leader in DPR's Youth Development Division. I want to thank both of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, let me start with you. You know, a lot of people know what DPR is, but I'm not sure they know the full array of programs provided, and specifically the programs provided in the after-school hours. Can you tell us some of those that are most important to our young people?
So DPR provides a wide array of programming geared specifically for youth that keep them actively engaged throughout the year. These programs help children and youth develop positive relationships with each other through social and cultural enrichment skill programs. And these programs, of course, more importantly, help teach life skills. One of the most important programs that we have is called After School Access. This program provides a safe, supportive, structured programming throughout the afternoon when kids get out of school. These programs help with physical, intellectual, and emotional development. So that, again, that kids can get help with their homework assistance and engage.
Where can people find them?
Well, again, DPR, we have 68 facilities located throughout the district. We encourage our residents to either go onto our website, dpr.dc.gov, go onto our Twitter account, or you can call our phone number, 202-673-7647. These programs are available all across the city.
How many different locations, John? Do you know right offhand?
So for our after-school access, I believe it's in the neighborhood of about 20 of our recreation centers.
In all 8 wards?
Yes, sir.
Alonzo, the Roving Leaders program has been around for a while, a number of years. A number of people know the name, but I'm not sure everybody really knows what the Roving Leaders do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the Roving Leader program, we've been around since 1953, and what the basic Roving Leader program basically does, we work with young youths anywhere from 9 to 21. We make home visits, school visits, court visits, get kids in the GED program, and we also work on major special events around the Washington, D.C. area. That's what the Roving Leader program does.
How many Roving Leaders do we have in the city?
At the present time, we have 32 Roving Leaders. We have 3 coordinators and 29 outreach Roving Leaders at the present time.
You know, we talked about juvenile crime and the like earlier, and people oftentimes think of gangs. And what does DPR and specifically the Roving Leaders do to try to engage in gang prevention? And then if gangs do develop, how do we move to break up that kind of activity?
What we do basically when we start dealing with young guys is dealing with gangs, and we basically set up mediations around the city, and we sit and talk with them, and we end up getting the top guy a lot of times. And a lot of times the top guy, he's not in school, he's not doing anything. So what we'll try to do is get him back into school, get him into a GED program, get him into a training program, or try to have access to getting him a job. And that breaks off sort of the rules of the guys dealing in gangs all the way around the city.
John, why do kids get into gangs? I mean, it's been around forever, and it seems to be an attraction for some young people, no matter what era we're in. Based on DPR's experience, why are some of these young people attracted to gangs?
Well, there's a couple of different reasons. I mean, first of all, you have nothing to do, and you're out of school, you want something to do, you have a couple of friends who are also doing nothing, and there's a sense of belonging to these particular groups. And so sometimes gangs can actually be a positive thing if they're doing positive things, but lots of times the stipulation is that if you're part of it.
They're not.
Well, that's true. Most of the times they're not. So most times if you're in the word gang, then they're involved in some egregious activity. So again, it's usually for the lack of non-activities or something to do. And that's why we really encourage kids to come to a DPR facility, because we have something going on. We have something for everyone, no matter whether you're involved with sports or cultural activities, or if you want to model, if you want to become a journalist, whatever it is, if you have a passion, if you have something in life that you want to do, you can come to a DPR facility and we'll get you some training, get you some life skills.
Does DPR have teams that they develop at the various recreation centers? And if so, what kind of activities can kids become a part of?
We have team nights every Friday nights, and we go to different recreation centers around the Washington, D.C. area, and we set up different activities. We even had checker games, ping pong tournaments, pool tournaments. We have a lot of DJs come in sometime and play music for the kids, and we also have modeling and fashion shows for the teams to keep them active during the course of the week and keep our teams moving in the right direction.
And so it's almost like another type of a gang. It's called Supreme Teams. And these Supreme Teams are offered in most of our recreation centers. And again, it's a team of youth who come together. They learn about leadership skills. They learn about what is the right thing to do.
What about athletics? You know, I was one of those who was born and raised in the city and came up through DPR, you know, playing various sports. That was, of course, many years ago at this stage. But what about today? Does DPR still offer team sports activities?
So fitness and exercise is critical to a high quality of life. So of course DPR offers the sports and the athletics that people are familiar with, the baseball, the basketball, the football, the tennis, the soccer. But we also offer other fitness, physical fitness and exercise activities such as dance, hip hop. The hot new thing is Zumba. And you'll be happy to know we also offer now hand dancing classes and cheerleading. And of course aquatics. Aquatics are, the pools are open, the outdoor pools are open throughout the summer. We have indoor pools that are open year round. So again, we encourage residents to come out and get physically active. And again, if you don't want to do a sport, there's other activities to remain physically fit and active.
Each of you, based on your own experience, do you believe that the period 3 to 6 in the afternoon is one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous time for young people in our city?
The peak hours of the day. Once young kids get out of school, they need to have somewhere to go. We refer them a lot to the recreation centers. We refer them to some of the boys' clubs. We refer them to the art. And we continuously to work with these young kids all the time. This would get them moving in the right direction and get them off the street, because once they're standing on the streets, that's when they fall themselves in trouble, because they become more of a follower and not a leader at that time. And we want them to be leaders instead of followers.
I totally agree. I think that they need to have some type of structured environment, something that they can get into that is positive for them. Because again, a lot of these parents, their parents are working from 3 to 6. Their parents are not home yet, so they're out of school. What are they going to do? They can either become involved with mischief, or they can become involved with something that's structured and gives them life skills.
How do you all work with the schools? You know, we're talking about them theoretically at least being in school until 3 o'clock, maybe a little bit after. What is the coordination between DPR, DCPS, and now that we have so many charter schools across the city, it makes it a little bit more complicated. So what is the coordinating mechanism in place to be able to ensure that we have youth moving smoothly from one educational event to a recreational event?
Okay, basically, all the Roman leaders right now, we're in all the high schools throughout all 8 wards of the Washington, D.C. area. We're making home visits, school visits, and we're doing a lot of truancy with the D.C. Public Schools. We also work with D.C. Public Schools on their special events, their football games, basketball games, baseball games. We're constantly moving with them all the time. If they have any type of special activities in the school, the Roman leaders is working with them on the inside of the school constantly on a consistent basis every day. And this is like 75 days out of the week. And we are in the schools from 12:30 to 3:45 every day. And now what we are doing, we are blitzing, which we call blitzing all the high schools. And what we mean by that is we are going to the high schools in the evening with 8 to 10 Roman leaders, and we're giving out bus tokens, movie passes, and cups and things of that nature, and job applications to keep them active and keep them moving. That's what we're doing to all the high schools.
And you go out to these football games and basketball games during the seasons as well?
So the Roving Leagues are a great transitional program, because again, we work very closely with DCPS, work with the charter schools, because again, when the kids get out of school, our Roving Leaders are usually there to welcome them right out of school. And if they have to sort of walk with them to a recreation center. So they are our transitional area team that we have going on.
Well, you all have talked a lot about what we give to young people, and of course young people today hear so much about the idea of giving back to the community once they've achieved certain success as adults. But perhaps the greatest service our youth can provide is by giving back to their communities right now through a variety of service projects. Up next, a look at what happens when today's youth answer the call to service. Inside One City, we'll be right back in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside One City. I'm Mayor Vincent C. Getting local youth involved in community service can serve as a turning point for struggling communities, but also may give young people a stronger sense of achievement and confidence. Most importantly, it can play a major role in preparing young people for the future by emphasizing education, leadership, and volunteerism. Today, we take a look at what can happen when the goals of youth development and community development are intertwined. Joining the conversation on youth development and the community are Patricia Evans, Director of Serve DC, and Jeff Franco, Executive Director of City Year DC. Thank you all both for joining me.
Thank you.
You know, Patricia, not a lot of people know what Serve DC is. Maybe you can start by telling us succinctly what it is and what it does.
Well, Serve DC is the Mayor's Office on Volunteerism, and our mission is to encourage and promote the spirit of service in the District of Columbia. And so with that, we have many opportunities for our AmeriCorps members. We are the DC Commission for AmeriCorps, which means all of the funding for AmeriCorps members comes through Serve DC. And Jeff Franco's organization, City Year, is one of our sub-grantees.
How many volunteers do you have?
Well, we have over 425 AmeriCorps members. And so that makes up the core of our quote-unquote volunteers on that side of the organization. We also have volunteers who serve through emergency preparedness as well. And so we have approximately 300 on that side.
Jeff, the City Year program is defined by enthusiasm, by service, by energy, and I think anybody who's ever been to a City Year event has to come away mightily impressed and frankly motivated. How do you get these young people? You have the largest core in the history of the DC program, is that right?
Correct.
How do you get these young people involved?
We have a recruitment department. We visit all the high schools and universities throughout DC and the metro area. A lot of it's by word of mouth or hearing from their friends that served with City Year in years past. This is our 12th year having City Year in Washington, D.C. So this year we have 162 Corps members serving. We had probably over 800 applicants that applied for the position. So it's very competitive, and young people want to give back and serve. It's great to see.
A lot of the work is done in schools too, isn't it?
That's correct. We serve in 14 DCPS schools this year. There are teams of about 10 that serve from the morning bell all the way through to the after-school program, help run the after-school program with the principal and administrators and teachers there. So they're serving full-time in the schools.
You know, a lot of people think of volunteering in our schools as an adult helping out a young person. But this isn't quite that model, is it? It's young people helping young people. Are they effective? Are they able to be effective with young people who may not be that much different than them in terms of age?
I think that's probably the power of the program. These Corps members serve as near peers. They're close enough in age where they're seen as friends by the kids they work with, but they're old enough where they're seen as mentors, tutors, and role models. So they're able to build a bond and a relationship with these kids that oftentimes they're not able to build with an adult in the classroom. So they really are able to mentor them to go in the right direction, help them make right decisions, and hopefully keep them in school and on track.
Patricia, is Serve DC able to attract young people as volunteers?
Well, we have hundreds, just as Jeff said, that we have more people volunteering and calling than we actually have slots for.
Young people.
Young people who are interested in giving
That's
back
encouraging.
to the... Yes, it is. It's extremely encouraging. I think word of mouth has gotten out there that volunteering and serving in your community builds leadership skills. There's been tons of research around folks who volunteer have healthy and productive lives. We have evidence that young people who serve often become professionals such as social workers, teachers. It inspires them to do more.
Kind of the giving professions.
Exactly, exactly. So we're very encouraged by the recent trend. Washington, D.C. is the 9th city in the nation with the number of folks who have volunteered. So volunteerism is increasing over the years.
Are you able to get, now this is of both of you, are you able to attract young people who really may be at the edge, that they may be about to fall off into difficulty, into trouble? on their way to being in a gang, involved with drugs or other problems that we know can undermine the futures of our young people?
I think so, and I look at some of our sub-grantees and the work that they're doing inside of the schools, and I think organizations such as City Year is providing that model to those students that you can do something, you can give back. The relationships that they have with the AmeriCorps members oftentimes become so very, very close, and they see them as role models, and so I think that just having those members inside the classrooms, in after-school programs, does attract those that we would consider on the edge.
Jeff?
What we're finding is that many of the students that are working with the Corps members decide afterwards they want to be a City Year Corps member because they look up to these Corps members as being role models in their lives. And of course, they're probably the hardest cohort to recruit for in City Year, but they, they get a living wage. They get free Metro passes. They get about a $5,300 education award at the end of their service. So there's a lot of, I think, attractive qualities that you're deciding to serve a year besides giving back to the community.
You have them for a year, right?
Correct, 10 months officially.
How long do you have the ones in your, is there any specific period?
There's a limit of 2 years. So oftentimes we find AmeriCorps members will sign up again, or they may go to the Peace Corps, which is something we also encourage young folks to do, because then it gives them a chance to see the world.
How do you hang on to these kids? You have them for 10 months, you have them maybe up to 2 years, maybe even longer. We know that young people have fleeting interests. It's just a natural part of development. How do you hang on to them in an effort like this?
I think it's the quality of the program that we have. I think it's the engagement, it's the interaction, it's how they see themselves growing. The leadership abilities. I mean, I'm sure, Jeff, you can speak to when members come in August and September, and after that 10-month experience, the growth and the development, the leadership skills that they have accumulated is contagious, and they want more of it.
In the 4 years that I've been executive director, I've seen so many young people come through the program. And it really is a transformational experience, because besides the dedication to working in the schools, it really is a leadership development program with these young people. So we spend a lot of our time in what we call Life After City Year, working with them during those 10 months as to what is your next step. They're 17 and 24-year-olds. Some of them are just finishing high school. Some are thinking about graduate school, college. So we try to help them in making that next decision after they leave. So that's a big part of our mission.
Let me ask you one quick question before we move forward. That danger zone, that 3 to 6 period during the day, do you have young people volunteering during that time and working with young people who may be at risk?
Yes, we do. We have not only members with City Year, but in many of our programs, like PlayWorks, for example, they have a conflict resolution, what they call recess game, that they play with youth after school, and we've gotten tremendous feedback from principals that it has diminished fighting and has increased collaborative efforts. So there is a special attention to that time period.
Jeff?
Yeah, so the 14 schools that we serve in, they serve full-time also with the after-school program. So the Corps member teams that are in the schools don't leave that school until the last student leaves. So they're very dedicated in the after-school space of fostering a learning environment, also trying to help them with creative ways for them to get involved with City Year and their schools during after-school hours.
Well, consistent with what you all are saying, at many of our youth town meetings over the years, I've seen countless examples of young people who are simply natural leaders. A few have even been told or told me that one day they want to become the mayor themselves. Coming up, you'll meet 2 young people who prove why it's never too early to begin building leaders of tomorrow. Stay with us. Inside One City. We'll be right back in a moment. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Inside One City. I'm Mayor Vincent Gray, and we're talking about building leaders of tomorrow. Young people here in Washington are living in a unique time and place in which two of the most historic role models in American history loom large. At the White House, they witnessed the story of a community leader and civil rights attorney who became the President of the United States. And on the National Mall, now stands a king among presidents, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial. That's why when I see young leaders like the two that we have with us here today, I'm confident that they too can be inspired to do extraordinary things. Joining me for a conversation about building future leaders are our co-DC Youth Mayors, Ryan Washington and Cecilia Thompson. Thank you all both for joining me.
Thank you.
Co-mayors, you don't hear that often. How did that come about?
Well, the story is that in our program, the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, each year there is elected a youth mayor, and when we were running, the number of ballots that we each had for our name were the exact same number, so a decision by you, yes, that we should be co-youth mayors and work together to work on issues in DC.
How's that working?
Pretty good. I think pretty well. We work together. Good.
What do youth mayors do?
Youth mayors are essentially the communication between the youth in DC and the mayor, as well as other local city leaders. We work as advocates for youth on a wide range of issues, and basically we're their representation in the local city government.
You know, we would love to be able to see every one of our young people in the District of Columbia aspire to what you all have aspired to accomplish what you've accomplished. What has been the difference? What's made a difference in your lives to be able to get you on this very successful course that you're on? Cecilia?
Well, to get me to want to have a position like this was my father. He's definitely my inspiration. He's been involved in politics for as long as I can remember. And he always tells me, you have to get involved, you have to give back to your community, he's trying to get me to do lots of things, so that was my inspiration.
Right.
Well, I just grew into it. I love, being a voice. I worked with the DC Youth Advisory Council for a while and got to see firsthand that not many kids or youth in the city are really represented, and I just wanted to be that advocate, that person that people could go to if they were ever in need or anything like that.
What can you all do to influence other young people in such a positive way, to get them involved in these kind of activities? Because we do have, unfortunately, a number of young people who have lost their way in the city. Cecilia, what do you think?
Well, I think first we have to get people to recognize that we actually exist, that we have people that are your age, younger than you, who have accomplished this. So I think first we have to let them know that you have somebody who you can talk to. And also we have to show them that, yes, you can do things such as talking to people in government, talking to people in politics, and voicing your ideas. It's possible for you to do this.
What do you think, Ryan?
I definitely agree with Cecilia. I think that we need to work on, letting people know that there actually is, or in this situation, co-youth mayors that exist. There's a chairman of the DC Youth Advisory Council. There are many, youth organizations that work in the city to help youth. And I think if they actually knew and, they actually communicated with us, we could do a lot more to ensure that this is a youth-friendly city.
We still unfortunately have youth gangs in the city, youth crews, and we find leaders who are unfortunately doing the wrong things, but they still are leaders in that environment. What is it that we can do to get those young people who are leaders on a more constructive and successful path?
Well, first, I think we should definitely have one-on-one conversations with them, things like that. Putting up flyers about anti-crime, like things like that. That's not necessarily communicating directly with them. So I think we should definitely reach out, find out who exactly these people are, have them come to these, like you say, youth organizations and speak directly to them.
Ryan, what do you think?
Right. I think we should definitely get to the heart of the problem, seeing why youth our ages actually join gangs, seeing why they look as a gang as kind of parents, getting down to the problem and trying to resolve that, trying to work to prevent youth from joining gangs and hopefully get them on the right track and, seeing that they engage in positive activities and, things like that.
You know, you put your finger on what I think is an important factor, and Cecilia, you talked about that as the influence of your father in your life. What about the influence of your parents in your life, Ryan?
Parents are definitely a big influence in my life, and I know for a lot of youth in DC they are. Your parents basically nurture you up into the person that you are, or to be. They kind of set the tone, depending on whether they're active in your life or whether they're not. And I think that's a big disconnect with a lot of youth in the city, is that their parents are not involved, they're not engaged, they're not active in youth's lives. And you know, that's hard on youth, and you know, it's not their fault, but that's a big problem that we definitely need to work on.
You all will be the youth mayors until what, next summer?
Right.
What are some of the things you're working on?
Well, some of the things we're working on is like listening sessions, joining in with the DC Youth Advisory Council to have even more town hall meetings, things like that, because I see that they're really helping. I see so many youth that aren't in the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute necessarily coming and actually voicing their opinions, and I think that is such a big step, and I think that is definitely helping.
Like Cecilia said, we definitely are working on listening sessions, as well as a youth summit and community leaders briefings. The point of the community leaders briefings is to get youth such as SGA presidents, who we think have a big influence on the students that go to their schools, as well as other youth leaders from maybe the Boys and Girls Clubs or YMCA. But getting community leaders in and, you know, getting to the heart of these problems in DC. Like I said, we cover a wide range of issues: education, public safety, employment. So bringing these leaders in and seeing what we can do for them.
Do youth feel like their voices are heard and paid attention to in the city?
Well, I would say it's like sometimes. The people who take the effort to come out to these things and speak, there are some times when I feel that, oh, well, actually the problem was addressed. But then there are other times where it's like maybe that's not the main priority, so it's not necessarily focused on as much as other issues. So I think we should pay attention to every little thing, even little small things, because small things can make a big impact.
Do youth listen to other youth, Ryan? Sometimes,
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, listen, I want to thank you all for joining me today. And coming up, we'll have a recap of today's conversation on preparing our youth. Inside One City will be back in just a moment. We're learning that after-school programs may be a practical way of helping to lower juvenile crime rates and generally improve neighborhoods. And it's not just about keeping youth occupied for a few hours every day. It can help provide our young people a chance to succeed through academic support and the opportunity of forming meaningful relationships with adults from their community. Also, by encouraging youth to get involved in their neighborhood through community service projects, it can benefit all of us by creating a mutually beneficial relationship of immeasurable value. To find out more about after-school programs, visit the district's website at dpr.dc.gov. Thanks for watching Inside One City. I'm Vincent Gray, and we'll see you again next time.